It's 7:04. I don't want to start 5 minutes late. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to District 12 Speakers Bureau for July. A lot of familiar faces. We have some special guests. We have a speaker from District 57 in Northern California Speakers Bureau. And we have a speaker from the District 100 Speakers Bureau. And we have somebody becoming a qualified speaker in District 100 and also a member of District 12 tonight. And we have visitors, looks like Ron from Alameda, California, Northern California, and the rest from District 12. Welcome, welcome. Tom is on a cruise somewhere, he told me where, somewhere near Scandinavia. I don't know where he flew to, and he promises to be back for the August Speakers Bureau. And we will have someone trying to become a qualified speaker and some guest speakers in August. Meanwhile, tonight we have guests from outside the district. Well, one's an inside outsider. And we have an opportunity to hear what I say, qualified speakers from other places, which is the true value of Toastmasters, especially with Zoom, that we can learn from other places and other districts. Our first speaker is a certified holistic health coach, an inspirational speaker, and a natural wellness advisor. I have no idea what all that means. I can't wait to find out. Yeah. She helps people uncover the root cause through genetic testing and provided them their DNA blueprint for better health. Since 2005, she's helped hundreds of people find the answers they've been looking for to have better health. Through her teachings, she brings clarity and understanding to those who want a healthier, more natural life with simple changes that make a big difference. Empowering you with answers is what she's all about, giving everyone the power to live life to its fullest. She's the past district director from District 100, the current chair of the District 100 Speakers Bureau, and it is my pleasure to introduce the speaker presenting on Your Genetic Loads the Gun, Your Lifestyle Pulls the Trigger. Welcome, Judy Bicknell.
Thank you, Michael. Woo woo. Oh yeah. Michael, this is not over your head. This is right inside of you. It's your genetics. We'll get you all cued in, and hopefully by the end of this talk, you're going to find out something really amazing, either about yourself or what you can find out about yourself, because that's what it's all about. Tonight, it's all about you. Why? Because you're the most important person in the room. Without your health, you have nothing else to go forward with. You can be the leader of a great IT company. You can be the leader of a nation. You can be a parent with 5 kids. You could be anything you want to be. But if your health doesn't allow you to continue to live that dream, then why are you dreaming the dream? So tonight I'm going to share with you a little bit about your genetics and why it loads the gun, but you don't have to live what you were dealt with. There are ways to make it better. And that, I hope, will be an enlightening part for you. Now, you may be sitting there going, who is this woman and what gives her the authority, the knowledge to be able to talk about genetics? Is she a PhD? Is she a scientist? No. I am someone who's done more than 20 years of research, though, in the field of making myself healthier. And you may say, well, we all can do that. But we all live different journeys. So let me share with you a little bit about mine, and then you'll understand why I have more information than I can carry around in this, yes, little head, Michael. All right. So way back when I was young and really burning the candle at both ends, I was an amazing mortgage banker. I worked 24/7. I help people live their dream of owning a home. It was fabulous. But I was burning the candle at both ends, working out every day, running like a crazy woman, being the top producer in my company. I had it all. All of a sudden, one day, though, I got the knock on the door that said, "Hey, you're not doing so good. You got the flu." Okay, well, let's go to the doctor and see if I can get better. Doctor says, "Yeah, you'll get better. Just go home, rest, take lots of liquids." Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Well, guess what? It didn't get better. Unfortunately, it turned into bronchitis. He said, "Oh, well, that we can treat. Here's a bunch of pills. Try this, try that." Okay. So then I started taking all these pills and all these different things. Guess what? It didn't get better. I was like, okay, I'm young, I'm vibrant, I exercise, I do all the right things. Something is going on here. Now, I was very fortunate to have a very open-minded doctor back then. Knock on wood, not all the doctors are that way today, who was willing to go the extra mile. He said, "Okay, let's run some tests." Tests. I don't know about you guys, but that's always the magic word for we're not sure, but we're going to see if we can figure it out. So they ran a whole slew of tests, and then you had to wait. You had to wait for the results. I don't know about you, but when I'm waiting for results on me, I get a little anxious and a little edgy. And of course, back then, we were all really concerned about, the big C word. And the hot ticket at that time was HIV and a lot of other illnesses that were going around. So we were really concerned. Got my test results back, got into his office. He sat me down. He says, "Don't worry, it wasn't those. It's none of those things." And I was like, thank goodness. I said, "Do you know what it is?" He's all like, "Yep, I got it." I said, "Great. Doc, give me a magic pill or, prescription or a shot or something. I got to get back to work. I mean, I'm missing out." He said, "Oh, honey, it's not going to be quite that easy." And I said, "Why is that?" He says, "Well, you've got this thing called fibromyalgia." Now, nowadays, we all know what that is because we hear it a lot. It gets thrown around a lot. But way back 20 plus years ago, that was not a word that a lot of people knew about. So my first thing was, well, there's got to be something you can give me, right? No, there wasn't. They weren't sure why it was, how it came about, or anything. Well, come to find out, it has to do with your body detoxifying. Now, how do I know this? Well, for the next 12 years, I spent my life dedicated to finding an answer, a solution. I wanted my health back. I wanted to live a full, healthy life. So I went down the rabbit hole. I chased every magic pill, every magic juice. I did every treatment imaginable. I hung upside down. I got IVs. I got injection therapy. I got those funny little bugs they stick on your body and then peel them off. Oh my God, that was gross. I've even did some things that we won't even talk about, and some things nobody should ever try. But I was bound and determined to find an answer. Well, as things progressed, I did find some of the answers. And I found things that would make me better, make me stronger, and remove some of my issues. Now let's talk a little bit about genetics. We all have our own personal genetic code. Overall, we're 99.9% identical, except for that one little percent in our DNA that makes us all unique. The part that says you're going to have blonde hair, blue eyes, no hair, or maybe you're going to go gray early, or you're going to have high blood pressure, or maybe you have that gene that says I'm prone to get Alzheimer's. Those things are all in your genetic code, and you're born with it. Now, this is where the tricky part comes in. Those things load the gun. But the way you live your life will determine whether or not those genes actually flare up and come to life. So you don't have to live with the hand that you're dealt. About 5 years ago, I ran into a friend of mine who said, hey, I've got a great friend who's bought the science and technology to this major tech company. And he's also bought all the research on the Genome Project and on epigenetics. Now, epigenetics means you can do things in your lifestyle to turn some of those, I'm going to call them broken genes for the lack of a better word. Let's just say those broken genes that are not the ones that you wanted to have, on and off. For instance, let's say you got the gene that says you're prone to blood pressure issues. And you've noticed as you've matured, your blood pressure is going up. And now you have to take a drug to push it down. Did you know that blood pressure is nothing more than a symptom? It's not a condition, it's just a symptom. It's that little trigger in your genetic code that just flicked and said, we can no longer process healthy blood pressure. So now it's out of control. What if you were able to take some basic supplements, some basic food, or even change some practical things in your lifestyle, and that little piece of genetic code were to go bloop and turn off? Your blood pressure would fall into alignment, and it would no longer be an issue. You have to look at a lot of your symptoms, illnesses, problems, dis-ease from a source of issues or symptoms, not really the problem. Things like diabetes or even heart disease or inflammation, fibromyalgia. These are all just symptoms of your body malfunctioning because of the break in the genetic code. Now, you may be sitting there saying, okay, well, I have high blood pressure and I take medication and it's all under control. Great. Think of your body here for a minute like a car. I'm going to assume that everybody's driven a car once or twice, maybe in their lifetime, hopefully. You have all those lights on your dashboard. You ever see when the check engine light comes on and it's flashing there? That's your car warning you that something is not functioning right. Now, like some of us, we may take a piece of sticky tape and stick it over there so it doesn't bug us while we're driving. Or like there were some of my blonde friends that would always say, well, I checked the engine. It's running. We're good to go. Let's keep going. What happens if we ignore that light or we just cover it up? Eventually, your car breaks down. Well, this works the same way with your body. If you get migraine headaches, that's a check engine light. If you have high blood pressure, that's a check engine light. If you have, oh, I feel my age. I can't get up in the morning. I'm so stiff. I can hardly move. That is a check engine light. The other day, I went to the orthopedic surgeon because I have a torn meniscus. And I told the doctor, I said, I'm having issues. I think I might need the microsurgery now because it's not getting better and I'm really struggling. He looked at me, and these are the words that will cause any doctor's immediate demise in my eyes. At your age, honey, that's called arthritis. I looked at him and I said, you did not just say that. And he said, well, it's true. I said, first of all, at my age, I should be doing the tango on the Ritz in Monte Carlo. And no, it's not arthritis. So I got up and excused myself. I had to teach myself, go back and think, Okay, this is a check engine light. This is a symptom. Where in my body am I malfunctioning? So very simply, you can take a really quick and easy genetic test. They do it by a simple cheek swab. So it's actually kind of fun because we sing the ABCs while you do it. We send it into a CLIA certified, HIPAA compliant, which means no, we don't sell your information out on the black web, and we don't give it to Pfizer and all those other companies to create some new drug with. We keep it private because by law, we're required to. And then we can print out a genetic report. Now, what does that genetic report tell you? Well, basically, it tells you 18 actionable genes in your body, everything from brain function to heart and respiratory function, to your digestive system, to your inflammation, and how your body will process things. And of these 18 actionable genes, the reason they call them actionable is because you can actually do something about them. You can change whether they're lit up like that check engine light or they're turned off and running smooth like a Maserati or a Ferrari. Wouldn't it be nice to know if you have those lingering in the background? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, you know, I'm really not a sports nut. I was doing cardio and exercise and running on a treadmill. My genetic report came back and it told me that's the worst thing I could do for my genes. I toxate them by causing detoxification in my body too fast, and my body can't process it, and it causes a buildup of lactic acid in my muscles. Now, I don't want to get too geeky sciencey. That's my job. I love that kind of stuff. Basically, what does that mean? It means it makes all my muscles and joints hurt by doing too much cardio. For me, my genetic profile says I'm better off taking a long walk. So now I take long walks on the beach. Guess what? My body gets the exercise it needs, and it's not mad at me at the end of the day. Those types of adjustments are things you can personally do to help your health. Now, what about blood pressure? Okay, so I get this magic DNA test and it says I have blood pressure issues. I already know that. What's it going to do? Well, it can help you understand the formulation of what you need in your body to help support that genetic weakness so that it functions properly. I would tell you that most of my clients are now off of their blood pressure medicine completely with their doctor's supervision. It's amazing the changes just a few little things can do to make you healthier and stronger. Do you know the number 2 cause of deaths in the US is, of course, heart attacks? How do you know you've got heart issues? 2 ways. You're either in the hospital getting a bypass, or you had a heart attack and you're dead. Most people don't see them coming. Wouldn't it be nice to know if you have those genetic markers? And wouldn't it be nice to know if you could actually do something to avoid it, or at least to support your body not to go down that pathway? That's powerful. For me, that's the type of science I want to be with and I want to understand. Now, this is why I search for 20 plus years on different avenues of how to support the body and how to make our health issues disappear. If you don't go down to the root cause of it, and in this case, all the way down to your genetic blueprint, you're just putting band-aids and patches on top of things that eventually either show up somewhere else, or like a tire that you patch the holes in, eventually the whole thing just blows up. Make sure what you're doing for your body is right according to your genetics, according to what your body is asking for. Simple things can make a big difference in your life. I know because I've followed those guidelines and made those changes, and I can see a huge difference. My clients, they see the same thing. Now, I'm not telling you to run out and go get a 23andMe DNA test tomorrow. Most likely, if you do that, they're going to sell your information on the internet, and you're going to know nothing except for a lot of science that you can't put together. But if for some reason you truly do want to know, and you're willing to actually take action with that information, you are more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'll share whatever information I have to help you find your path to living a healthier lifestyle. And if you just want to talk more, my calendar is always open. There's always so many different avenues you can go down. And if you're trying something really unique and unusual, sure, call me and share it with me. I'm the girl everybody runs everything by. If I haven't been there, done that, and have the t-shirt and the jar to prove it, boy, it'll be a first time. But I'd love to share those stories with you, exchange results and ideas to help you find what you're looking for. At the end of the day, make sure that you're living your best life with the best health you can possibly have, and make sure you make every day count, because you can't trade this vessel in. This is the only one we got to move around in. Take care of it, and it'll take care of you. I'm going to put my information in the chat. If you want to reach out to me, please feel free to do so. I'm going to leave you with this. My favorite thing is to always wake up every morning and say, live life to its fullest. I hope you will. Michael?
Thank you, Judy. Hold on. I'm writing that down, of course. That's a good positive affirmation. So Judy's here and willing to take questions. I'm going to ask the first one to get it going. So Judy, we take this test, which costs how much?
You can get the test for as little as $200.
$200. And then you would suggest some, is it supplements we're talking about?
Well, if you take the test and you move forward on it, you can meet with me and I'll review all your things with you. And if you like, yes, the company can create a single supplement to match your genetics. There's over 400 million possible combinations, but they can pull exactly what's needed for your genetics and make one supplement to match your DNA.
A pill this big?
Nah, but it does come in a cute jar with your name on it.
Yeah. So it would be based on your genetic predisposition. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. What your body needs to support it to function better.
Right. Fascinating. Lois, did you have a question? I thought you kind of raised your hand. No, okay.
No, she was just saying hi because I missed it.
Hi, Judy. It's so good to see you. Let's go build a new club. Okay.
Yep. Oh, there, Judy. Do you have a question?
Yes, I'm the brown Judy.
The other Judy.
Brown one.
I like it.
I would like you to address epigenetics. Epi means on top of genetics. I didn't hear you mention that word.
Well, Judy, epigenetics is fabulous. And this is all part of what I was talking about. Your epigenetics means your genes are loaded in the gun, and what your lifestyle does will either activate them or deactivate them, and things can change according to that. That's part of epigenetics. And that's a whole nother long talk, which Michael didn't give me that long to talk on tonight. But that's what epigenetics is all about. It's the things that you can do in your life to support the weak genes that you have or the genes that you've lit up. Good to go, Mike?
That's good. Other questions for Judy?
I have a
Thanks, Rob.
question. I'm a neurofeedback therapist, and in my work, we do a brain map to evaluate the strength and not so strong areas of the brain and try to balance them out. Has your work ever been done in conjunction with neurofeedback? And has a study ever been done wherein they take 100 or 1,000 people and they get the DNA profile, and then a separate person interviews them about their lifestyle and did they have heart attacks or not? And then we could compare the data, because I hear you saying this DNA can let us know if these things are possible, but that doesn't mean that they will or will not happen. It'd be nice to see an actual comparison study on that. So I guess I had a two-part question there.
No problem, Ron. So yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. So I don't know if you're familiar with Brain Tap.
Brain Tap is new to me. I don't know why.
Okay, then I'll share it with you if you'd like. I'll send you, if you put your email in the chat. So we've been working with Dr. Peterson for a very long time. He just did the conference in Florida with Dave Asprey. And Brain Tap is the mapping of the neural pathways in the brain and helping reset them so that they function correctly. And the genetic testing that we do can show actually some of the genes that we're testing on the certain SNPs, show those people that are in there for that type of treatment have those markers. And so the nutrition that we put behind it that supports it and raises that bar at the same time with the Brain Tap, the results are remarkable. And as far as the research goes, I can share you that we have over 172 studies.
All right. Well, thank you for the Brain Tap, and I will send you privately my email address.
Okay.
A common misdiagnosis is ADD and ADHD. And when people say I do or do not have ADD or ADHD, I ask them, well, they got their brain scan or brain map or what? Well, I never got a brain map or a scan. They looked it up in the DSM-5. And so I'm hearing people say they've been diagnosed, but no one ever measured their brain. And I'm wondering the same thing here. The correct solution to ADD is neurofeadback, worked, balanced the front of the brain out in some other areas. And I'm wondering how that would, can your DNA profile point out ADD, ADHD type of area, which is a blood flow problem, essentially.
Yes. So Ron, you and I need to get together and have a Zoom chat. I'm sure we can exchange some amazing research, but yes, ADD and ADHD are symptoms, they're diagnosis, they're the red check engine light. They are not the root cause of the problem. And if we go underneath and we find the genetic break or the break in the brain waves, we can recreate and help those people find the root cause. So yeah, we will definitely chat together.
I sense a later talk that now I'm really interested. This kind of talk would be amazing. Neurofeedback and your stuff. Wow, it sounds really
It's
interesting.
fabulous.
I did a speech for the Alameda Tongue Twisters on neurofeedback. I called it "Your Brain Does What You Tell It to Do." Problem is you don't know how to speak brain, so you need some help.
Clearly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ron. Other questions for Judy? It's a great opportunity here. All right, her information is in the chat. Please call her, and thank you for traveling all the way from District 100. All right.
You got it.
Greg Scott has a question all the way from Clear Lake.
Oh, no.
Yes, this is a tough one. Did you have a good 4th of July?
You know I did. All right, you guys. Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. I love sharing this information.
No, we love having you. Thank you, Judy. All right, our next speaker. Hopefully they'll come on. We only see their screen. There they are. Okay. I'm pleased to introduce you to our next speaker. As a non-binary individual who has experienced the diverse tapestry of cultures throughout their life, our speaker possesses a unique perspective that makes them highly qualified to shed light on the topic of bias within our human societies. Their personal journey has gifted them with profound insights into the subtle nuances and inherent biases ingrained within our systems. With a keen eye for observation and a deep understanding of the complexities surrounding gender and culture, their expertise and lived experience make them an extraordinary guide as we navigate the uncharted territories of bias together. Wow, get ready to be enlightened as our speaker takes the stage to share their wisdom and ignite a transformative, there we are, conversation that will challenge the very foundations of our understanding. Our speaker is a member of District 12, and that's debatable, yay! And they are the newly elected Club Growth Director for District 100. Join me in welcoming Angel Lorena. Angel.
The definition of human is a member of the species of Homo sapien or of the extinct species of the genus Homo. What does this mean? Take a moment and think about the last time you were treated unfairly. Think about if in that moment it was some belief against you at play in the other person's mind that made them treat you unfairly. Now think of a time when you may have found yourself treating someone else differently. If you were able to answer that last question, you may have recognized that you were treating someone else differently as an other person and unequal to you and who you are. And yet, we're all human. Today, we're going to talk about some tools, a way that we can reconstruct the wording we use and the ideas we have to better remove the bias and remove that divisive language that we use and focus on humans as a whole. Now, let's talk about what language is. If I asked 10 people in a room what language is, I'm going to get 10 different answers.
What language it is? What is the it?
And that is because language consists of wording. That's the words we use to construct the sentences we speak, to construct the pages we read, but also the next layer of context. Certain words mean different things in different contexts. If I told you I was going into a meeting, then I told you I'm meeting with someone, those have two different contexts to the word meeting and alter the definition of the word meeting, even though it's only minutely. The next layering of language is emotions. As humans, we have emotions, we feel them, whether or not we choose to admit it. And those emotions come into play with one, how we give language, and two, how we receive it and take it in. And finally, probably the most important part, the one we don't think about often, is history. History has a significant impact on language. And one example of this is the swastika. Originally, this was actually a symbol of hope, prosperity, and peace for many cultures, including Japanese, Buddhists, Taoists. But the Nazis took that. They took a symbol, co-opted it for their own purposes, flipped it around, and made it something so terrifying that to this day, years later, we still tremble at it. Completely opposite meaning, completely changed the way we think about it. And humans often attach these elements together to form our thoughts and actions. Now, we're going to take a historical context and go into this looking at from the beginning. The Bible is the most translated book in the world. It is the most published book in the world. It is available in the most amount of countries and languages. Yet there's many different variations of understanding, translation, and things around it. Let's take a look at one word specifically, the word Selah, which is a Hebrew word, and it is mentioned 40 times throughout the Bible. However, there's only 2 times in the entire 40 that it means something differently. And that is in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, when splitting woman from a man
Angel,
and taking the rib.
we cannot hear you.
Okay,
I hear him fine.
I hear I you hear too.
cool. We're
Yeah,
good. I'm gonna
I-
keep going.
I hear you just fine, Angel. Go for it.
Keep going.
So we need to ask ourselves as humans why these 2 words out of the 40 are translated different. Who translated it? Why is these 2 specific instances different from the other 38 speckled throughout the same book? Well, when it was translated, only a handful of what they called learned men were allowed to do translations. So why do you think they translated this one section differently? Scholars currently, to this day, believe that there was a bias at play. And this bias was at play to maintain power for the control of these learned men. They wanted to influence the world. They wanted to tell the world how it should be. And what better way than to control the translation of one of the most published books in the world? And yet, we're all human. Let's take another thing from the Bible and see how that's at play. Everybody knows the 10 Commandments. We were taught this when we were kids, especially if you grew up in a Judaistic or Christian home. There's one part of the 10 Commandments that to this day we all say, but it's actually not the translation. Scholars have found out that the commandment, thou shalt not kill, was actually originally meant to be, thou shalt not murder. Now, why is this significant? Well, if you think of the word kill and the definition of kill, that could mean if I hit someone with my car and they die, I have killed them and I'm going to hell, according to the literal translation we say. But if you look at thou shalt not murder, that adds intent. That adds a different meaning to the word killing or murder. It means that I actually attempted and wanted to kill someone. See how that just a simple translation of a word that we may not look at could mean 2 significantly different things when it comes to context and meaning? I'm going to go and pick on another more current document, especially coming off of Independence Day. The Constitution of the United States starts with "we the people." What does that mean to you? Yes, I can go out there and ask 10 different people once again, and I will get 10 different things. It'll mean citizens, it'll mean humans, it'll mean a person who was born here, a person who's not born here. It all is going to depend on where you come from and what emotional context is at play. But it's not all the people. Originally, once again, only the entitled white men of the country, which were able to hold own land, were counted in that we the people. And this actually jump-started the great experiment known as the United States. This document was written in 1787 and has been in operation since 1789. And let me tell you, that was one hell of a business meeting in Philadelphia. So why is it that so many non-Americans believe that our democracy is only 5 decades old? Even though the "we the people" was written in such an obvious way to us that we think it means everyone, If you were not a white male landowner, which technically was only a handful of people at the time, you were not considered in the We the People statement. And yet, we are all human. There is one word that cannot be misunderstood. It's the word human. It's not a concept. It's not an emotion, and it's not a historical context. It is a fact of who we are. It is a statement of science. We all bleed. And as Judy said earlier, we share 99.9% of our DNA, even with our worst enemy, even with the people who want to kill us, take us off the world. That means all of us are equal. We are all human. And when I grew up, I was actually taught that women had an extra rib and men had one less. So, fun note, women have the same amount of ribs as men. Now, you've heard a lot of information. I want to take you through some specific examples with 2 older examples that have already been handled and 1 currently at play. Now, the first one is voting. The question that was posed was, should women or Black men or Black women have the right to vote? And yes, the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1920, but even then, states tried to limit who could vote. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 changed it. But you get that gap there, the 45-year gap. Let's reword that question. Should humans have the right to vote? It becomes really simple when you remove the divisive language that tears people apart. Now, the next one is, should non-white people have the same freedoms as everyone else? Yeah, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed and we ended the segregation that was in our country, or at least we hoped it all ended. But a better question is, should all humans have the freedom to live their life and be happy? And believe it or not, that's actually written in our Declaration of Independence. The pursuit of happiness is a common right amongst all. It makes it a little bit simple, but let's take it to a current issue, not one that's already been decided. Transgender and non-binary people want access to healthcare that they feel would better their lives. Now, the question at hand is, should trans people receive the same healthcare rights that everyone else gets? Should they be able to decide what they want to do medically? Should they have the same access to doctors and hospitals? Now, let's take our concept and reword it. Should every human have the right to get access to the healthcare they want and deserve? It's the same question, but I guarantee you in 99% of minds, it's gonna have 2 different results when you're looking at it. Now, I'm gonna tell you, this will not end debate. Everyone's going to fight. We're gonna find something to argue over, and it will not end the wars, but it will remove the divisive language triggering us, spurring us on. Because at the end of the day, we are all human. Now, using this simple system of trying to remove divisive language, replacing it with human, or whatever you feel represents the human race, can give way to more discussion on what's critical, the criticalities of the world, like war, famine, climate change, the ever-evolving economy that we're always hearing so much trouble about, which is often drowned out by the divisiveness of our language, because it's more fun to watch people fighting over whether trans people should have health care than it is arguing about the economy. It sells more stuff on media. But if we, like I said, we remove the divisive language, we can talk about what really is going to help us. This is a litmus test for everyone here today. Whenever you go into the world, whenever you are talking to your friend, going to the grocery store, talking to the cashier, writing a book, writing an article, writing policy, as many of us Toastmasters experience, especially if we're in leadership, we must admit we all carry unknown or known biases. Even me, who tries not to, I have biases at play all the time. I have to actively work to fix them. And by removing divisive language and plugging in human, or like I said, another word to represent the human race, using it in our day-to-day life, in our interactions, in our writing, in our decisions, both personally and professionally, at that moment, we the people, one human race, are truly together. Now, don't take my word for it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a PDF in the chat. I'm also going to put my email. That PDF is my list of references that I researched on this. I want you to go out though and do your own research. Research on both sides of the field. Don't just research one. Always look at both to where you get a good middle ground and make your own decisions. The whole idea of this is to make the world a better place and make humans more united, because we cannot be strong until we're all together. Every time you've watched an End of the World movie, humans win because we band together. We fight together. And that's what we can do today with this litmus test. Thank you.
Oh, come off mute, Angel. Thank you.
Don't come off mute or come off mute.
Yeah, you're good right now. This is amazing, because isn't this why we're in Toastmasters? To learn how to express ourselves in a way that can make the world a better place. At least that's what I always say in my talks. And this is amazing, because in my work in public health, I always said, we're always answering the wrong question. And you now help me even better say, you are asking the right question. And that's really, I think, so important. That can really change the world in a positive way if you ask the right question. That's my thought on that. Now, Angel is going for her QS in District 100. She's not yet attended enough of the District 12 meetings to be able to do this, but she's on her way. So I say she's inviting some feedback tonight. Do people want to give some feedback from the District 12? Karen and Judy, you heard her previous speech. Can you want to mention briefly the changes you've seen in the last few weeks?
Hey, Angel, I feel like this was a lot more fluid and easy to follow than the initial speech that I heard in 100. And it really, I think, connected in what Michael had spoken to about, are we asking the right questions? And I've heard him ad nauseum indicate that in government work, the questions are most often always wrong. So I really do appreciate hearing you walk us through the thought process and how you got there and why it matters. So our words matter, and how we say what we say matters, and getting the question right is almost, if not more so, as important as the answer. And if you're not sure about that, then don't even try board work.
Thank you, Karen. Judy?
Thank you.
Judy?
Yeah, so Angel, great job. I really enjoyed listening to this speech. I didn't feel like you were trying to push my buttons like the last time. And this was very open and thought-provoking, and I really enjoyed this. Yeah, good job. That's all I gotta
Thank
say.
you.
Other thoughts or questions, comments, anything like that? I was thinking, oh, let's see, where are you, Ron? Did you have maybe the neuro piece and this could work together, right?
Well, Angel has been using the correct word, which is we are all human. So in answer to every one of those questions, the question should be, should humans or someone who is human be allowed to blah, 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 fill in the blank? And we all have a brain, and the brain, our brain does not care about the battles that we go on with labels and health coverage and all that stuff. Everybody, humans should have health coverage. Everybody knows that. But the brain is unfortunately left out. And by working with the brain, I think people can get things balanced to the point where they stop being confused about the answers to these questions. The answers are obvious. Are we human or are we not? It's a yes or no question. And we all have brains. So more brain to you.
Thank you, Ron. Judy Van Arsdale, you had a question?
Yes, Angel, I loved your speech. Now, this question isn't easy, but I think if anybody could give a good answer, you probably could. Question is, we're all human. There's no debate about that. I accept that premise. However, being human, we all have different tastes, different desires, different wants, different needs. And some people are born with Roman noses, while others are born with British noses. And while people far, far away are born with Asian noses. And what if someone in, Britain wants to have an Asian nose? Should we grant that desire? How do you answer that? I don't have an easy answer.
My simple answer to that will be yes. It's up to them. Now, is it going to be medically necessary, life-saving treatment? Probably not. But should they have the right to be able to pursue what makes them happy? Yeah, as long as you're not murdering people, taking people out of the world, why not? My thing is looking at this, we are all different and we all want the right to live and be happy. But everybody else around us should have that same right.
Yep.
Looks like a lot of agreement there. Other questions or comments for Angel? Oh, Lois, please.
Angel, I loved your speech. Absolutely loved it. Very dynamic. I look forward to you coming back to Speakers Bureau as you continue to improve this speech. You've got a great speech here. We need to hear it.
Thank you.
She's right. You need to come to, I think, 6 meetings, Angel. This is, I think, 1 or 2. So we'll get you going, and we want you to be qualified in both districts. That'll be fantastic.
Put me on the mailing list.
You will. I know you have a busy time ahead, and since you're starting your new district, I just read the new newsletter today. You have a team already? I was impressed. All right. Wow, Angel, thank you for doing this. This really brings a different perspective and a different view. And we've not had this talk in District 12. I loved it.
Thank
Thought
you.
it was fabulous. All right. Moving right along as we go, our next speaker. Oh, wow. All the way from District 57, which is now the district I live in Northern California. In this era of the pandemic, polarization, and unprecedented. I got it. Unprecedented times. Our speaker is going to share an idea on strategies that he uses to take care of your mental well-being. A Toastmaster since 2008, our speaker is a past district director of District 57 Toastmasters. And by the way, I met him on the plane to Kuala Lumpur. We've been friends ever since. President of the Speakers Forum Club, and he's a member of the District 57 Speakers Bureau. Professionally, he's an account executive with Ocean Breeze Healthcare. And really amazing, he hosts a podcast called Leadership Lessons from the Negro Leagues. He's the one person I know that knows more about baseball than me. And he teaches me a lot about baseball. He lives in Alameda County, Alameda, California, with his wife, Catherine. Please join me in welcoming Steve today.
Has anything ever blindsided us and confounded us more than the pandemic? It was a crisis like no other. We've had crises before, whether it was 9/11, the civil unrest of the 1960s, or world wars. And the go-to strategy for everybody during these crises would be to gather with family, gather with friends, gather with our religious community. And during the pandemic, that was the most reckless thing we could do. And then there was also the confusion and different people with different opinions. And the different opinions were logical because nobody on this call, I don't think anybody anywhere had been trained or had life experiences with pandemic lockdown. We had people that were going to stay put until this and ride out the pandemic. Then there were other people, friends of mine, that said, hey, I'm young, I'm healthy. If I get COVID, I get COVID. It's on me, I'll get over it. But then we found out that, people get COVID, there are no symptoms. They don't even know they have it, then they gather, they spread it. Other people get it, and they're the ones that suffer, some of them fatally. It was a time where it's been a time that's just been confusing. And COVID also made every other challenge in our life more challenging. If we had a challenge at work, chances are the challenge at work got worse. In fact, sometimes when you didn't even have a challenge at work, COVID created a challenge. If you had a challenge in a relationship, chances are the challenge in the relationship got worse. If you had a challenging health condition, chances are the challenging health condition got worse. Our Oakland 88 Club experienced a tragedy. In May of last year, one of our young members, Sue, took her own life. We were deeply honored when her mom and dad, who live in Aberdeen, Maryland, visited our meeting via Zoom. They wanted to know what Sue was doing, who her friends were, and just hear about Sue's friends' experiences working with Sue. We were shaken to the core when Sue's mother said that Sue was the second of 4 siblings that committed suicide. I don't know how comfortable mom was going to that meeting, but she was making it her point, her mission in life, to tell everybody she could to take mental and emotional health seriously. And if a loved one is giving hints like they might be about to take their own life, take it seriously. Now, about that same time, Katie Meyer, a soccer player at Stanford on the women's soccer team, also committed suicide. And then one of our really respected members of District 57, Ashley Harkness, is a military veteran who spends as much time as he can volunteering to help veterans who are in crisis. So my message tonight is about taking mental, emotional issues as seriously as we take our physical health seriously. I'm also going to stay in my lane. I am not a trained healthcare professional. And if you or somebody you love is considering something drastic like suicide, please get help. There's help available that will help you understand that your life is valuable. My purpose tonight is take the stigma away. So let me tell you about my situation with COVID during the pandemic. We did the lockdown in February, or in March. About 6 months after the lockdown came about, my son Phil developed a MRSA infection. He was in the hospital in ICU for 5 weeks with a ventilator. The part that was torture was the fact that because of COVID, we couldn't go visit him. We were relegated to one phone call a day from the healthcare professional telling us about the events of the day, his progress, and every once in a while it'd be a couple steps backward. Now the good news is it was a happy ending. Phil fully recovered. He's working full time, doing great. And 2 weeks ago, in fact, less than 2 weeks ago, 11 days ago, we celebrated the joy of his wedding to the love of his life, Desi. But more happened. We had Sue commit suicide. And it got to the point to where I was feeling a lot of anxiety. Now, I listened intensely to Judy's speech, the first speaker. And Judy, you and I have to have a conversation, because what I'm talking about tonight is my experiences and what I've found worked with me, but I'd love to hear more about the work you do. I'm the high blood pressure guy you were talking about, and I also probably have a genetic disposition toward anxiety. And I believe that my anxiety was triggered by the events since the beginning of the pandemic. So I decided to get help. It was hard because I've got a lot of life experiences. I worked successfully for 40 years. I don't need to get therapy. But then again, who's been trained for what's been going on in our life for the last 3.5 years? So I found a therapist. Where did I find the therapist? Well, the good news is the health plans we have at work are starting to treat mental and emotional health the same way they treat physical health. And I just went to my network. And sure enough, I found a therapist. She's in North Carolina. I'm in Alameda, California. We met on Zoom once a week. And then after about a month, we started meeting every 2 weeks. And now we're meeting every 4 to 6 weeks. The advice she gave me was earth-shattering. Wait for it. Steve, just control what you can control. Control what you can control. That was the most liberating piece of information, the most liberating idea I ever got. And I decided that I was going to control what I can control by doing 3 things. Now, one of the ideas was something I've been doing all my life, and that's exercise. And that has worked well. And the reason the exercise worked well is because it's a healthy outlet for our emotions. It kicks in the natural mood enhancers, endorphins, and it builds self-confidence. We have a complicated relationship with exercise. Many of us exercise when we want to lose weight. Many of us exercise when we don't look good, when we look in the mirror. Well, I suggest you exercise because it makes you feel better. Whether you step on the scale and you drop pounds, whether the clothes fit better or not, you are going to get benefits from exercising. If you choose to do intense, do intense. I've done intense before. I've had fun with it. I've run a marathon. I've run 2 marathons. I'm finished with that. I don't have a desire to run anymore, but I love to walk. And sometimes I just walk for an hour, and that works great. I I don't care how fast I walk, I just get it in. Sometimes I'm out for a half a day. I walk for about 20 minutes, go to a bench, do a little reading, walk for another 20 minutes, do a little bit more reading, and there we go. I'm back 2 or 3 hours later, but I'm feeling better. Activity number 2, journaling. I call journaling the brain dump. Journaling is something I do at the end of every day. It allows me to self-reflect, and it allows me to get a little bit of mental clarity. I also, when I write down the thoughts of the day, the events of the day, and then I write down 5 things I'm grateful for. And on the worst possible day I have, I can still find 5 things I'm grateful for. And 5 big, really crazy dreams. Now, Michael Azure, do you know what the biggest crazy dream I write down every day? I've done about 80 episodes of leadership lessons from the Negro Leagues, and I haven't interviewed Willie Mays yet. And Willie Mays has still got it. He's still got that high-pitched laugh. And one of these days, I'm going to introduce Willie. And then another big crazy dream I have is I want to make this presentation at a Toastmasters International Convention. So those are 2 things I'm working on. And I write that down, and we're going to make it happen. Activity number 3, positive affirmations. You know what? Every one of us is doing affirmations already. We're all Toastmasters here. We had a meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. You ever wake up on the morning of a 7 o'clock meeting and say, oh boy, this is not going to go well. I didn't have time to practice a speech, or I've been working on this speech like crazy and they're not going to like it. It's going to be horrible. Well, congratulations, you're doing affirmations. I encourage you to give a little pushback to that affirmation by doing some positive affirmations. Positive affirmations basically tell the inner critic that's on your shoulder, I'm not buying what you're selling. The positive affirmations don't eliminate the inner critic. The positive affirmations just are a mechanism to give the pushback to the inner critic and get me back on the right track. So I've been working on this presentation for about a year now. I've given it several times in several different formats. And I pretty much had it ready to go when Michael invited me tonight. Then I got the email. Friday, I got an email from my friend, Todd. Todd has sent an email to a lot of his friends, and he said, everybody, I want to let you know, for the last 3 months, I've been getting treated for myeloma. And not only do I have myeloma, I have an aneurysm in one of my arteries. I read that email, and it's not the type of email you write back and say something brilliant in the return email. So all I could do was say, hey, Todd, can I call you tomorrow? And I wasn't sure what kind of answer I would get because I didn't know what kind of condition he was in. But like within seconds, Todd wrote back to me and he said, yeah, call me tomorrow morning. So I call him tomorrow morning, on Saturday morning. He picks up the phone and he sounded like Todd. He was cheerful. He had a lot of energy in his voice. And if I hadn't got the email the night before, if I just called him up randomly, I would have known he had a health issue. Well, he gave me a lesson on exercise, journaling, and positive affirmation. He said, Steve, I don't have as much energy as I like to have. So some days when I walk, I can get to the street corner. Other days, I can just get downstairs into the front yard And sometimes I can only walk around the living room. But I'm going to get through this. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to do videos. Todd's not the type of guy that likes to write things on paper as much as he'll do a video, and it'll be a great video. And he wants to put information out there about his journey with this and how he's doing. And he's got the idea of helping other people that are going through cancer. And I'm going to give you the greatest positive affirmation I've ever heard in my life. Todd said to me, "I'm glad they found the myeloma." What are you talking about? Well, if they hadn't found the myeloma, they wouldn't have found the aneurysm, and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So Todd's my inspiration. So I've mentioned my 3 activities that start with controlling what I can control. And that in a nutshell is all that we can do. Todd's controlling what he can control. And however this works out, Todd's going to be doing what Todd can do. Controlling what we can control puts a positive impact on our life. It puts a positive impact on the challenge we have. And controlling what we can control will improve our overall well-being. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Steve. Wow. Guys, my brain is blown out tonight. We've learned so much good stuff. It's crazy. Now, Steve, we're running out of time for Willie Mays. However, tell people, I sent you an article about something going on in Alabama with the Negro Leagues. Can you just mention that for a minute and what you did with that information I sent you?
You're only going to give me a minute? This is
Just a few
great.
minutes.
This is great. Well, one thing that I learned when I started this podcast is I can't hold people for an hour by myself. So I need to get a guest. And I found out that people are available, people you wouldn't think you would ever get. So I said Willie Mays, and he's my ultimate goal. But I've gotten to talk with a lot of people just by reaching out and asking them. And Willie Mays, before he went to the Giants, when he was 17 years old, played Negro League baseball. It was when baseball excluded, Major League Baseball excluded African Americans. He played for the Birmingham Black Barons at a ballpark called Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. Well, it just so happens Rickwood Field is the oldest ballpark in the country. It's older than Fenway Park in Boston. It's older than Wrigley Field in Chicago. And this is huge. The Giants are going to play the St. Louis Cardinals on June 20th, 2024. That's how they're going to celebrate Juneteenth. So I said, I got to find somebody on this. So I just wrote a random person with the San Francisco Giants, a woman named Sue Peterson. And about 3 days later, I got a phone call from a 415 area code number that I'd never seen before. And I thought, usually I don't pick these up, but I'm going to pick this one up because I remember the email I sent. And it was a woman named Shauna who was assigned by Sue to call me up. And Shauna called me up and she set up an interview with Mario Alioto, who's the executive vice president of the Giants. So I talked to Mario last Tuesday, the 27th, and then I released it Monday on July 3rd. And then Mario gave me the phone number of the person with the St. Louis Cardinals that has the same job as he has. The guy's name's Dan Farrell. Well, Dan said, hey, I'll talk to you, but the guy you really want to talk to is a guy named Mike Claiborne, who's one of the broadcasters for the Cardinals. So Mike and I have exchanged emails and we haven't figured out when we're going to talk yet. But I learned 2 lessons in all these podcasts. Number 1, people will talk to you. And number 2, everybody knows somebody that knows somebody. So even though you might know the right person, there's somebody else out there that does, and you can get a lot of good connections. And if you don't do it that way, every book author has a LinkedIn page. And there's a good chance you can reach out to them with that. And they will say yes, because they want to talk to people to promote their book. So anyway, but this has been this podcast has been fun and opened up a lot of doors.
So Steve, that means Steve is practicing what he's talking about, that he's connecting on this. He writes and talks about the Negro League all the time. And now he's talking to people that are putting on this Juneteenth event in the oldest baseball park in the country. And think about Willie Mays had to play there when he was 17 years old until he could get drafted by the Giants. This is, again, blowing my mind. And Steve, I hope you get to go. But this is so cool that I sent him an article and you ran with it way better than I ever hoped. And I'm excited to hear about this story.
Well, I'm excited to talk about it because it's fun.
This is great. Any other comments for Steve? Oh, Judy, and then Greg.
So yes, Steve, I'd love to connect with you because just your journey alone is an inspiration for so many people. And I have clients that have that go down that path as well. And it's a struggle, but it's nice to know that there's people out there that are surviving and
Thank you.
thriving.
I'm going to reach out to you because, like I said, I mentioned 3 activities I do, but another activity is I'm a learner, and I'd like to learn what you do and
vice
find
versa.
out how it would work, and what I do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks
Judy.
a lot.
Greg?
Hey, when are you gonna come up and have lunch again?
Anytime. That sounds good.
I got some new golf clubs you want to try out.
All right.
Yeah.
I got
Poor
let me get
Steve.
something here.
Well,
Oh, you know what I've got?
is he coming back?
I'm right here.
All right.
The last time I went to Greg's house, he gave me some stuff.
Oh, his old picture, his card.
He gave me this. He had a baseball card for when he ran for ID. So it's just like
All right, Greg. All right, Steve.
Greg's got an amazing man cave.
We know that.
Yeah.
Well, this concludes our special July meeting, only online, with guests from District 100, District 57, and someone hoping to become a qualified speaker in both Districts 12 and 100. Our next Speakers Bureau is August 2nd. I'm going to say that Alicia Curtis will be going for her QS in District 12 because she's a member of That's Debatable. And she's now a division director in Hawaii, of all places, after a stint as program quality director in District 100. Amazing. And there's a qualified speaker that was in District 12, left, and this man has come back and he's going to give another speech. So he's got his QS back. Don't ask me his name. I totally forgot what it was, but he's back living in the Inland Empire. So we're going to get to hear him. And one more speaker, somebody dropped out, but I'm going to find another good speaker to help out in August. I really appreciate you all coming tonight. Every time you show up at a Toastmaster event, it's always way better than you ever imagined. And I always learn more because I know all these people speaking tonight. I've heard them all speak. I thought, yeah, I'll just moderate. And I'm blown away. I got so many things in my head to think about. And this is what I love about being in Toastmasters and knowing all of you and coming. I was going to say, is there anyone in a district leadership position that wants to share anything going on? But Jeremiah couldn't make it. He was late from his job. But Julie, you want to speak about District 100? No. Frankie, okay, what's your role this year?
PRM.
Oh, perfect. Okay, what's the next event we should think about?
There is an officer training tomorrow for 12. So anybody that that hasn't gotten their training yet, it's in the district news. We do a weekly newsletter here, and after that, I'm not sure what's coming up. Everybody is still trying to get all their teams filled out, and
All right. We appreciate that, Frankie. And
We're supporting him in that. And
congratulations on
if you have
stepping up.
any news for the newsletter, let me know. If you know of anybody who's great on social media that wants to join the team, let me know.
And Frankie, thanks for stepping up for public relations. We all appreciate
You
it.
know what? This is a journey of love. It's a
Yes, it is.
labor of love. I'm learning so much. So
All right. Greg Scott.
Yes, thank you. In District 4, District 12 broke off from Founders or became a new district. I was the last club president of 1348F in those days. Tomorrow, I step in as president of 1348, finally in District 12. So it's going to be fun to retrace from the club that I started with and to be its president for a second time. So I'm looking forward to it. And the club was chartered in 1959. So we've come a long ways, baby.
yep.
Wait, are you a charter member, Greg?
No, I'm not. No.
All right. Judy did post the District 100 Speakers Bureau. They're meeting on Saturday by Zoom, and they have they start at 6 p.m. Oh my God, 6 p.m. on Saturday, in case you didn't have anything to do on Saturday. I thank you all for coming. Rob Gunneman, thank you for being the tech guy to set this all up for us. Thank you, Rob. And he's a new logistics manager for District 12. Totally behind the scenes, but he makes it all work. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Excellent meeting.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Enjoyed
Bye.
it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everybody.